Today we're going to be looking at the brand new Fantastic Four trailer, and we're going to be answering a couple of your guys' mailbag questions. All that and more in today's video. Before we begin, I wanted to let you guys know that Zach actually did his own live reaction to this trailer over on the live tab on our channel. So click on that if you want just a bit more of a breakdown into it. This is going to be some quick details that I noticed. While we were discussing the trailer this morning, Zach noted in his breakdown that the timeline of the movie will jump around with a few time skips here and there, with the team going up into space before they get their powers, to a time jump when they're all world famous superheroes with brand deals, and apparently cartoons and famous catchphrases being parroted back to them on the street, and Franklin Richards being born, to the new point where the Thing has a full-on rock beard. So there's probably a time jump during this point in preparation from when the Silver Surfer arrives to the arrival of Galactus. That's a very rough timeline from what I can personally extrapolate, but then again, we're getting the same snippets that we've been getting during this whole marketing campaign, so we don't have really too much to go on. We also got some new shots from when the Four go into space during a mission to probably stop Galactus before he gets to Earth. We know it's this and not their first mission because Ben is a rock monster during this time and not Ebon Moss-Backrack. A thing to notice is also that the ship, the Excelsior, other than being a fun nod to Stan Lee's catchphrase, has 3 of the fins instead of the 4-fin ship that we saw at the end of the Thunderbolts. Kevin Feige has confirmed that the events of the Fantastic Four will lead right into Doomsday, so it looks like we'll be seeing them don a new 4-fin ship and head into the 616 universe, where they will meet the new Avengers. It's probably due to them escaping their own reality because Galactus destroyed their version of Earth. But then again, we still haven't seen the movie yet, so that might not be there, but that is a popular fan theory. Additionally, we got to see some new shots of the Four's powers in action, with Sue's ability to generate force fields being used primarily to help stop rubble from presumably falling on civilians, so it looks like she'll be primarily helping to help evacuate people. We got Ben driving the Fantastic car and using his strength, but we've already seen him in action in previous trailers. The only new thing that they put focus on is the Thing's beard in this trailer, but I'll get to that in a second. We also see Johnny using his flame powers. Not a surprise there, as we got to see Chris Evans use his powers in Deadpool and Wolverine, so they look largely the same, but still cool, with Johnny also putting a flaming 4 in the sky like during the original Fox movies. And we finally also have more close-up shots of Reed stretching and using his powers in combat, which, again, look pretty cool. Standard stretching powers. We saw John Krasinski be the first to do that in the MCU during Multiverse of Madness, so no change here. Only change I think we'll see is that this version of the smartest man alive won't tell the bad guys what their powers can do right off the bat. I'm sorry, I just had to crack that joke. Now, there was some speculation on the Thing's beard, mostly from people confused on Twitter that he could even grow one. There's even an IGN article popping up talking about it. That's a weird theme with the Fantastic Four right now, is people's obsession with the character's facial hair. Primarily with fans on Twitter complaining that Reed has a mustache and he would look much more comic accurate shaved. I'm gonna be honest, they're comic book characters, dude. They can do whatever they want. I'm not gonna lie, it's a fun thought exercise. The Thing's rock beard is an interesting question, like how does he shave? Do sections of the beard grow like pebbles into larger rocks? Would it take longer to grow out this beard than a normal one? We see people posting up panels that yes, he has grown out a beard in the comics, so yes, this does have precedent, but I think we're blowing this out of proportion. The main point of the Thing's facial hair is to show the passage of time. That's like the default way to show that time has passed. Again, the Fantastic Four has a lot of time jumps in it in this trailer. I think that this is during the movie's 3rd act when they tried reinforcing the Earth after their space mission to stop Galactus failed. We can see that here with the skybeam things in Paris. Presumably these are placed all throughout the world, probably to put up a force field, and they built numerous bunkers for civilians. I also think that Reed, during this time jump of preparation, built the new multiversal travel ship just as a backup plan in case they aren't successful in saving the world. And from what we saw during the end of the Thunderbolts post-credit scene, it looks like that might be the case. Don't be surprised if we get a more somber scene in the movie where Reed shows the Four his backup plan and they all grapple with the idea that if they fail, they get to leave, but the people who basically worship them on Earth don't. And that's gonna hang very heavy on them. I think that's why Marvel is playing up their celebrity angle in the trailer so much. It's probably that scene that shows that they're leaving behind that world. So when we see them in Doomsday, don't expect the Fantastic Four to be all smiles. All in all, this was a pretty good trailer. It set out what it needed to do. There wasn't much here that we didn't see too much of already, but man, July is going to be packed with Superman hitting theaters early in the month and the Fantastic Four more towards the end. I'm a fan of both Superman and the Fantastic Four, so this is going to be a pretty good month. We're going to be so busy on this channel, so I hope you guys stick around to see our coverage. But before I go, I wanted to answer some of your guys' mailbag questions. If you want us to answer your question in a future video, be sure to leave it in the comments with hashtag mailbag. Our first question comes to us from Star Wars fan 2172, and they say, hashtag mailbag, could you compare the Netflix adaptation of Avatar The Last Airbender to this Netflix adaptation of Cowboy Bebop, even though it's not an anime adaptation? Thank you, Star Wars fan 2172. Now, to be entirely honest, I haven't really gotten to the Netflix live-action adaptation of The Last Airbender. I watched the original animated series in its entirety, and there's a reason why it's still so popular and beloved. It's like children's prestige TV. But for the live-action version, I can see that it hasn't really made too much of a splash like Netflix's version of One Piece did. But I can see that it did better than Cowboy Bebop in terms of being a show because it actually has a second and third season, so it looks like Netflix will actually allow for this show to finish up its storyline. So that mixed reception is good enough so that the writers can actually address those issues in upcoming seasons. Versus Cowboy Bebop, who, unlike Avatar, had a short run on its source material and wasn't really given a shot at a second season, with Netflix pulling the trigger on cancellation so fast. I think a large part of it has to do with how data-driven these studios are, and I think that Avatar had a lot more people tuning in to watch it versus Cowboy Bebop. In terms of content, both really have the same issues that a lot of live-action adaptations have, with fans of the original just comparing the new versions and criticizing the small infractions. While Avatar seems to mostly follow the story, Bebop loosely adapts some of the episodes from the original while trying to do its own storylines and mostly failing to capture the spirit of the series. That's the problem with live-action adaptations, is when you have something that's done so perfectly already, some fans will expect you to either capture the spirit of the series one for one or to expand upon the original, which in itself is kinda hard. But our next question comes to us from Little Bits of Stuff 963, and their question is a bit related to the previous one that we just answered. Hashtag mailbag. What movies do you want to be remade in live action but don't think will be made? For me, it's live action remake of Treasure Planet. Thanks for the question, Little Bits of Stuff 963. You're pretty much on the money with the remake of Treasure Planet, but I think that we may at some point see it. Just not in the near future, considering that Disney has been getting mixed results on their live-action everything run of movies, but they've also been doing this since the 90s, so they'll probably touch their whole catalog at some point. So it is bound to happen. You might see Treasure Planet, but they just have to do Moana, Hercules, the Aristocats for some reason, and Bambi right now. But I don't think that nothing will not be given the live-action treatment at some point. We see Netflix taking shots with One Piece, and there's absolutely no way, with how much work it takes to make a season, with how many chapters of the manga and episodes of the show that there are, that they will ever complete this version of the show. So since we see them even giving something like that a shot, I think if someone pitches a studio anything and says, hey, look at this super popular thing, it will get you subscribers, they'll cover it. The question now isn't if you can adapt something, it's largely should you do it in the first place. There's some properties that would need extreme care to make sure that you hit all the right notes, not just honoring the original, but to make sure that you're a good piece of media in your own right. And that balancing act is really hard for some productions. I know the guys from Stranger Things are tied to the Death Note project. Am I gonna keep an eye on it? Yeah, I love Death Note. Did I hate the first try that Netflix gave a shot at? Kinda, but this is the way that media is now. It's about taking safe bets and remaking something that's popular just to get that little bit of extra cash, and that seems to be the playbook for everyone right now. So to answer your question, I think that anything super niche won't get a shot at the live action. Think your Legends of the Galactic Heroes, or I'll throw in Sailor Moon into that category because I would love to see how someone pitches that. But that's all I had for this video. Thank you guys for your mailbag questions, and I'll see you guys next time.